Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to Godly Play. You may remember we've been talking about how the disciples came to know Jesus after Easter and all the things that happened. We talked about how the women went to the tomb and found that his body was not there. We talked about the men who saw him on the road to Emmaus. We talked about Thomas, the disciple who didn't believe that he was risen and said he wouldn't until he could actually see the wounds in his hand. We talked about how the disciples went back to Galilee and they met him on the shore. We talked about how the disciples saw Jesus and he told them that they would receive the Holy Spirit. We talked about how the disciples felt sort of lost and alone after Jesus ascended back to heaven because they just weren't sure what was going to happen. And today, at long last, we are coming to the story of Pentecost, which is today. At least it's today when this is being filmed. So, the disciples had been told that the Holy Spirit was going to come to them. And they were all together in a room. Some people say it was the same room where they had had the Last Supper with Jesus. And all of a sudden, they heard a huge wind. And it came blowing into the room. And all of a sudden, there were little pieces of fire dancing around the room. And the pieces of fire came to each one of them. And they suddenly felt this great joy. And they felt as if their tongues were on fire. And they were so excited, they ran out into the streets to tell everyone what was happening. And people were amazed. What were they doing? Why were they babbling on like this? But the other thing that was amazing, at the moment, Jerusalem was filled with people from all sorts of different countries, and they all spoke all sorts of different languages. But no matter what language they spoke, they could all understand what the disciples were saying. So suddenly, Peter stood up. And he seemed very calm and very confident. The other disciples had never seen him like this. And he said, "We're not crazy. We haven't been drinking. It's early in the morning. This is what God said would happen. God said that his Spirit would be poured upon all of us." And remember, the prophet Joel said this. He said that our people would prophesy, our sons and daughters would prophesy, our young people would see visions, our old people would dream dreams, and this is what's happened. And many, many people heard him say this, and a lot of them returned to their regular lives and resolved to do what they knew they should do, and a lot of them were baptized. And they were the beginnings of the Christian church. So that is why Pentecost is considered the birthday of the church. And we wear red because red is the color of fire and flames. So, I hope you will remember what Pentecost is. Many places will be celebrating today. They'll be having cake. That might be something that you could sort of mention at home. Some cake might be nice. And I hope that you have a wonderful week. This is the beginning of our summer term. So we won't be having in-person Sunday school for a bit. But we hope to see you again in the fall, and I'm sure we'll see you this summer too. But goodbye for now.